Thank you for the kind introduction. And thank you for the wonderful presentations. I just wanted to compliment Ola on her work and to back up her story. In the neon sign at the cinema, it does look really nice, and I got fooled because I thought it was the original neon sign, so it worked. So all she said was absolutely true. So so I work in the area of a digital for museum and cultural institutions, implementing new technologies and innovation into the world of culture and art. But I'm really mostly at I'm coming from the research background. So I specialize in the user research, and every time I am trying to come up with some sort of a solution for museums and institutions that I'm working on. I am always trying to actually coming up from the point of the users needs. And I think that especially now in the pandemic, we can clearly see how museums are actually playing a vital role in our societies. They not only preserve our common heritage, but also provide spaces that promote education, inspiration, emotional well-being, as well as dialogue. So I would say that that preserving museums and also constantly rethinking museums, especially in the context of the new normal, is something that we are exploring with our students during the workshop. But today I wanted to talk about to talk about a couple of projects that I've been doing with interdisciplinary teams. And my role was, my role was a researcher role, but we decided within the paradigm and the approach of the human-centered design to actually accommodate users' needs. So starting with real problems, real pains that users or visitor in this case experience towards the museums, or thinking about the museum experience, and also institutional goals, which are very often very specific, limited by a lot of constraints, such as financial, but also architectural. And that technology is actually coming at the very end of this process. So it's always rather a result of the creative process or design process, rather than a starting point. So as I mentioned, this signpost from users' needs to technological and design solution is something that is guiding my work, and I am trying to convince the HIT students to try the same way. So the first project that I wanted to talk about, it was called Museum Treasures. And what we tried to do is we actually implemented a quite sophistical sophisticated artificial intelligence solution to inspire, discover, and play at the National Museum in Warsaw. So National Museum in Warsaw is one of the biggest museums in Poland. It offers a wide range of educational program. It accommodates families from many different range of ages, but the problem that the museum was experiencing is that, well, although the workshops especially for kids are very popular and they're constantly on demand, well, there is just basically not enough people that could conduct those creative workshops. And families which are visiting the museum, usually on weekends and very often with kids, you know, the whole families, the parents not necessarily have the competences to introduce their kids to the context of the history of art. And well, to be honest, kids, they want to interact with artworks, and left on their own, you know, with the sign or prescription "do not touch," they very easily get bored. So the challenge here, in this case, was how to encourage families to return to a museum, and how to make a visit and interesting for kids. So so for them, their first encounter at the museum is actually something fun, not a sad and serious requirements with a school, but so they can remember the museum as also a playground and just a fun experience. So we wanted to build interest among children and their parents in museum resources such as collection. And we were inspired by very popular games. At the time, it was, you might have heard of craze for Pokemon Go and the Ingress game. So games which are using GPS and geolocation. We were also inspired by the building of the National Museum in Warsaw, which is huge, and it's very easily to actually get lost in the building. It might be confusing, but it might also be an interesting challenge. As in some cases, I think it might be fun to get lost in the museum, and we came up with this idea of the treasure hunt in the museum. And the result was the game. This is web application. It's called the Museum Treasure. And the idea of the game is that a user, in that case, a kid, we designed it for the kids between 9 and 12 years old. The idea is that they get a map with a map of treasures that they need to find in the galleries of the museum. They get only the fragments of the paintings. And the idea is that they are equipped with maps, and they need to find the fragment, the whole picture, the proper piece of art, only having a fragment of the picture. And we really wanted to also design an educational aspect, as this is something that is interest for museum. So in order to make sure that that the kid had actually found a proper painting, there are some questions, a very easy one, that a treasurer must respond to. So an example, example question would be from which year a given painting was from. And after responding to all the questions, the kid, the visitor, the young visitor, could actually go into more advanced levels and play multiple times. So it was also important to, it was also important in that project to, it was important for us to design a possibility in the game so that a visitor could play multiple times. And this is where the object recognition algorithms they came in hand, because we have been able to actually tag the paintings in the gallery using the machine vision object recognition algorithms, actually the ones that are publicly available. And we came up with about 200, 300 different categories of tags at the given painting. So so every time, so the paintings weren't really tagged manually by curators. They were tagged automatically by the algorithm. So every time a kid would hit a play again button, the system would actually give him a new result, a new set of paintings, so they can play again and again without ever being repetitive. This automatical tagging was also a blast, because a kid can actually decide what kind of fragments he would like or she would like to look for. So he might choose between various of categories such as dogs, flowers, hats, mustaches, etc., etc. And this allowed us for a lot of flexibility and always keeping a game interesting and fun. And we are still in beta testing, but for now I can say that the game does provide kids with something interesting to do at the museum and the interactive play. It does enhance perception, focus, and attention. It can also be played by more than one person at the time. So it's actually not an individual, but rather a social game, because younger kids can play with older kids, but also parents would, fancy to play with their kids. And we hope it would motivate families to actually return to museum. And the second example I wanted to talk about was the augmented reality application that was also created for the National Museum in Warsaw. So as before, we started with a problem. A couple years ago, a museum conducted a research among the young professionals in Warsaw, and the results were pretty harsh. So the research has shown that a lot of young people who are actually, who like to go to a cinema, theater, other galleries or other museums in Warsaw, they find the National Museum as too elitist or for experts. And for the most part, during their visit, they lack the context to understand the artworks. They are expecting to get some new knowledge, and but they are not getting it. They expect interesting and engaging stories. So so something that they can not really, you know, lectures on art history, but something that can actually bring the art a little bit closer to them. And with this in mind, we thought about, we gave ourselves this challenge, how to give the viewers free access to reliable knowledge about the paintings, which would bring them a little closer to the context of their creation, maybe explain the meanings and offer some interesting stories. We also thought about, is it possible to realize such an idea without directly interfering with the way exhibitions are presented? Because you might think of, okay, the easiest way would be just to put some information next to the paintings. But this is not something that the curators of the exhibition were happy to do. They wanted to keep the exhibition design or the gallery design as is. So we thought about this solution, technological solution, which we can abbreviate to the BYOD, or bring your own device. And we created this application which was based on augmented reality, and it's very easy. Because we don't need any additional triggers, we don't need any additional signs or QR codes. In this case, we can just launch the application, point the device camera on the artwork, and the artwork itself, the painting itself, it works as a trigger. And after the image is scanned and recognized, it will show you some markings. And we decided that we would like to put just a minimal amount of information. So just basically a text with no distracting videos or even an additional audio, just, you know, information, the background information about the author, about who is on the painting, with a simple definition of the art styles, etc. So I think I am running out of time, and I'm sorry if I if I run out, but these are just examples of how starting from the user needs, we might actually think of some technological solutions and new media. Thank you.